Hi guys, welcome to Winsome Cottage Garden. My name is Hannah. I'm so glad that you decided to join us today. Today we are back up at the cottage. We've got a pretty big project today that we are working on our deck, getting it organized with all of our flower pots, all of our vegetables, and I'm going to bring you along for the journey. We've already done some potting up off camera, but we still have some more that I'd like to do with you guys and then bring you along as we organize the deck, get it patched into our drip system, and I'll explain how that works a little bit more, and maybe get some deck furniture out. It's more likely that'll come a little bit later, but it's possible that it will happen today. One of the things we're actually adding to the deck is that Munstead wood rose, that David Austin rose that you may have seen in my plant hoard in the city. One of them made it up with me as I said it would, and I'm going to get it in a pot today, in addition to some flowery annuals, a couple tomatoes, and a lot of other fun things. So let me show you the plants that I'm working with right now, and then I'll go up and show you the deck before we get a lot of stuff added to it. I've already actually potted up like a weekend ago a couple of these self-watering containers from Crescent Gardens. We have two of them that we really enjoy because they allow us to put pots kind of in the middle of the deck. So these need to be brought up the deck. It's quite a little ways. They got to go up. As you might be able to see, we have drip hanging down that we have to work its way back up. Here's another one that I did last weekend. That's looking good with some calibrachoa, some vinca vine, some geraniums, some really interesting wave petunias. I think they're called like Starry Night, as well as gosh, what's that called? Verbena, as well as some verbena. Needs a tiny bit of deadheading. These don't have to be deadheaded, but they're a lot more productive if you do deadhead them. Here are the plants that still need to go into containers. They're kind of vaguely organized in the containers you're going in. And this is the rose that we are planting. I have one of these that are going to go in the landscape in the city, and this one is going into a pot. It's a David Austin Munstead wood. It's just got to start right here, which I'm really excited about. It's going to be going in this pot, and hopefully that'll keep it for a season or two. One of those pots, not quite sure which. So these two pots are getting planted. A couple of these are being planted. We also have a raised garden that's actually going to get planted too. Actually, let me go take you up and show you that on the deck and what it looks like right now. Okay, here's the deck. There's a couple hodgepodges of things that we'll go into detail later because these are things that have also been planted. So we're just gathering stuff up before we organize it and make it beautiful. But it's quite a large deck. It spans most of the cottage. And right now it is the primary place that my parents are doing their container gardening. As you can see, they've got some grow bags that we planted up. In another video, they just got watered, so they're looking a little sad right now, and they're actually going to be moving to a shadier spot where they'll be happier. But you can see that their lettuce starts are just loving life. They also had some die off in their strawberries, but in general, they're looking good. And they got lots of babies, which is fun. And so right now everything's kind of protected from dogs, not Maisie, but one of my mom's dogs loves vegetables and loves to eat them. We've got a couple things to plant up that you'll see, but then this is also something I wanted to share. We actually got this for my dad for his birthday. It is a raised bed container from Gardener Supply Company. I will say that it was not very easy to put together, and some of the screws were misaligned, so we weren't able to use them all. So we're hopeful that that won't be a problem, but this is one of the things that they will use to increase some of their vegetable production. You might also notice that they have some fruit trees on here. These are not staying here. They actually have plans to put up a fenced-in vegetable garden where that, you can see there's a patch of dead grass where our docks were this summer. That is going to be part of where the vegetable garden will be, and it will include these fruit trees among other things. It's something that's going to be going in probably this fall, and though they do plan to get these in the ground as soon as they can, they know that fruit trees are something that go out of stock quickly, especially if you want certain varieties. So it's going to go in there with these two trees, and for now we up potted them to slightly larger pots, and we've got them on the deck, and they'll be happy here for the summer. Though we have to make sure they stay watered so they don't blow over. But this is kind of a good view. You can see that this tree kind of shades this section from time to time, but over there it's basically sunny 24/7. And actually, I'll maybe see if I can capture it. We have a hummingbird feeder and an oriole feeder, and we have orioles here. They're nesting and they're just so beautiful, and they love their oranges and grape jelly, as do red-headed woodpeckers, interestingly enough. So anyway, the first thing I'm going to do, since we're up here, is get this filled up and planted with some herbs and a couple pepper plants. We might stick a bean or two in here. Our local Lowe's was having problems getting soil from their supplier, so we didn't quite get what we wanted. This was the only bag of raised mix they had, so we have one of those. We're going to mix it with a potting mix, and it'll be good enough for this year. I'm hoping that that will be enough, but because we weren't able to fully put this together the way we wanted, I'm actually going to be mixing the soil in here and then dumping it in here. But in case you wanted to see what it looks like and how deep it is, it's probably, I don't know, 14 inches deep. And we'll go to within like a little bit of the top, because it'll settle definitely as time goes on. I think I might push it into the shade to work about here, and then I will set you guys up so you can see it as we plant, and we'll get it planted. Then I'll probably take you downstairs, plant the rest of the pots, bring them on up, get them organized, and then I'll walk you through what everything is. So without further ado, let's get gardening. potted and brought up and organized. I'm going to walk you through what's what. A couple things. I do know that my camera stopped when I was potting some of the pots. I've been struggling with something that I think I fixed, but it's going to take, I missed some of the video recording. So I'll just walk you through what it looked like, and then I'll give you a tour of how we've organized the different pots. I've run out of time also to hook them up to drip today, but I will definitely do a video showing how we water these at a later date. But I do want to show you regarding drip, if you saw me like leaning over and looking down, what I was looking at. So we have actually like got a water line that's under this lip right here, and you can see these things hanging. They are tied into that water line, which is actually part of our sprinkler system. So every time I was leaning over, I was trying to see where these were, because these were spaces last year that we had pots. But as you can see, we've got a lot more space. We cleared out our holding area a bit more. And this is a mix of pots that look pretty as well as vegetables that I will kind of walk you through what's what. There's also an awning that you may have seen retract that provides some shade and coolness for the house. We do have one of the self-watering pots here, which, trust me, this will get more than enough sun even on the days we have these out, that we have a peachy keen verbena in, which is one of my favorites. And then that Starry Night wave petunia, a coleus, and also some white calibrachoa. And what's nice about this is I've turned it because it hasn't gotten rotated in a little bit, but this can be seen from inside, so it's a really pretty 360-degree view. That's what you see when you walk up. It's hard to see because it's in shade right now, but as you walk up the stairs, that's what you see directly. We have a pot right there on the landing that's some red verbena, some red wave petunias, a white calibrachoa, and a yellow marigold. In here, we have a Dudespania Spanish mammoth red pepper, which is one of our faves. This is just a pretty little urn with a red geranium, some white euphorbia, red wave petunias, red verbena, and a spike plant. So this is one of my mom's favorite colors, is red, so lots of red here for her. Here we actually had to replace a cherry tomato we had planted a week or two ago, because you may have seen when I plant these at the bottom of the hole where I put the tomato, I crack an egg. I have found that the tomatoes that I do this for do so much better than the ones that I don't. So now I just do it for everything. I think the calcium and the little extra fertilizer of the egg insides help it a lot. So because we did that, we did have these down there before we down in this like mini little holding area before they were brought up. And we think a raccoon or something came in and wanted the egg because they dug that tomato out. So I bought a cherry tomato. This is just a Bonide Husky Red Cherry. I think there might be two, but I wasn't sure. And in all my tomatoes, I have one or two marigolds and some alyssum. Marigolds to keep away bad insects, and alyssum to attract pollinators. So that's a red cherry tomato. This one is a Juliet tomato, which is like a saladette size. And again, it's got the marigolds and the alyssum around it. This is where that David Austin rose is going to live. The Munstead wood will probably take this off because it does have another tag, but I need to get that watered in. You may have noticed that this got planted with different soil than all of the other containers. It had mostly some really good compost. Dairy Dew is what we have in our area, which is a local thing. I put a little bit of potting mix at the bottom because it's got more drainage, and then the Dairy Dew around the rose itself. Over here is another self-watering pot. These are actually a purple Super Tunia. I don't remember which kind, but it is a Proven Winners brand. We've got some Angelonia, some Lantana, as well as a spike plant. Then we have our two strawberry green stalks, which they're growing on, but they don't have anything quite ripe yet. This, I'm trying an experiment. It's probably a bad idea. I'm not sure which of these is going to produce first. So we have a blueberry cream cherry tomato, and a Napa Chardonnay cherry tomato. I suspect the Napa Chardonnay might die. That's why I've added a blueberries as a backup. Worst case scenario, I will cut one down. but this is one that I decided to add since I had some extra seedlings. This is a San Marzano tomato paste Roma style with the same marigolds and alyssum. Here we have a corbaci pepper, which is one of my mom's favorite. That's that long, thin one. I'll put a picture up. In this urn, we have a pink geranium, some like light pink, light pink wave petunias, a darker wave petunia with a really pretty dark throat that goes well, another euphorbia, and some vinca vine. And then in this self-watering container, we have a spike plant, red geranium, those starry night petunias, white calibrachoa, and some red verbena. And then over here, you can kind of see, oh, there's one more small pot with some verbena, some white petunias, some calibrachoa, and a marigold. These were the ones with kind of leftovers that are cute. It might end up on a table somewhere. But this is actually like our more veg production area now. We've moved our cabbage to this area, which they'll like more because they get some afternoon protection, so it won't be as warm as the place they were. We've also kind of put the things that my mom's dog Sadie likes to snack on in one area, so if we have to, we have a X pen that we can just block this off from her. So these are the cabbages we planted up a while back. I'll link that video below. We also planted this green stalk with salad, which is just doing really well. They've been eating salad every night. And then Molly, my sister, did some sowing with some beans and some other salad types that are just coming up, as you can see. That'll be like a second wave because these will probably start getting a little old sooner rather than later. Got our pots of chives. Oh, I should take this off. I've been picking fruit off. I really don't want to. But this is a flavor top nectarine that we're gonna put in the garden once it's there. I might leave just one for us to eat it. I don't think this guy has any, but this is a gala apple. They're both semi-dwarves. They're not living here, they're just here for the summer kind of thing. This raised bed is turned into our herb garden, which I think will be really nice because our kitchen is on the other side of the deck. So it's not like right on top of it because that blank spot right there is where our grill is going. It just needs to be moved out from its winter location. But we have rosemary, thyme, parsley. I stuck 2 peppers in here because I had them. We'll see what happens. This is a red bell pepper that can be harvested as a green. And this one is a ace red that could be also harvested as a, I actually need to just thin. I'm gonna pull this guy off because it's a little too little. I expect they'll both get a lot bigger now that they're in a better spot. So 2 bell peppers with some supports. And I'm sorry because it's kind of in some weird shade. We've got some basil, some that we had that was older that is a little sad looking that might not make it, but that's okay because we have a new one that is right there. Some tarragon that we use a lot in the summer. And then this is a lemon thyme, which is so good. I like it in water and other things. It's just really, really, really tasty. This one I'm gonna hook up to drip eventually with like a round brown tubing so the whole thing gets evenly watered. There's a couple marigolds here and there as well as some alyssum to help keep weed pressure down. And this is the final pot we potted today. This has got 2, I think they call them red Thunbergia. One's like an orangey color and one I think is a little darker. They were labeled the same. I don't know if these are older blooms. I need to get some twine to give it some additional things to cling to as it fills this up. In the middle, we've got a white euphorbia, some red wave petunias, as well as a, what are those called? Creeping Jenny. And I also snuck in here. I don't know if it's gonna live, but I found it in a pot. It seeded itself in a wrong thing. This is actually a cute gamelon. So it might put some small cukes up, but I am gonna find some twine and just kind of run it back and forth to help get it up and over. This is a little more shaded than this will probably like, but there's 2 plants there, so it'll still do really well. I also just want to point out, because you might see it, check out that crazy viburnum. It is just covered, but looking really, really good. And I guess what I'll do is kind of give you one last pan of the deck. So we haven't gotten our furniture out. There's a couple rockers that you see over here. Might be a table here. I'm not 100% sure if they're going to stick that out. They also have a rocking 2-seater they might stick instead. And then there's a sunbed that goes right here for my sisters. They use that a lot. But I think it turned out so nicely. I think that's really going to do it today for our video. I know I didn't quite capture everything I wanted to do, and I didn't quite get everything done I'd wanted to yesterday. It rained all day, so I didn't get to do as much outside this trip as I'd planned to, but we have a couple more projects planned for next weekend, as well as a garden tour of just some of our beds here more in depth, because I haven't really done one of those at the cottage yet. And we'll keep track of the vegetables up here in the container, because even though this is a really large deck, I recognize that the container gardening they do here is something anyone can do, whether it's just in 3 containers or 5 or 6 like they have. So I think it's another great way that if you don't have a large space or in-ground space, you can still do vegetable gardening and enjoy annuals every year. Anyway, thank you so much for spending today with me. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.